All right, and we're live. What's going on, everybody? My name is Cole Gonzales. I'm CEO of OSSA.AI. We're joined here by Mr. Frank Ramos, who has also recently, in somewhat sort of way, might have somewhat joined the team and has been really playing a massive role. So he's the acting technical product manager here at OSSA. He's been helping me learn a ton, full circle, not just in the technical department, not just in product, but marketing, everything. He's had a massive influence on OSSA, on the community. It's been great. You guys know we've been hopping on these, almost weekly, him and myself. So super happy to be here again on Friday. Hope everyone's having a wonderful morning. And today we're just going to be diving in, giving some updates on the current role. I know there's a lot of interest in the full stack engineer role that we recently opened up. We're also looking for a social media manager, a video editor. So the teams are growing really fast here. We just hit over 50,000 users. We're approaching 50K MRR in about 4 months, so super humbling, tons of support. We're just getting started. And yeah, Frank, if you want to kind of kick it off and do a quick little intro on your background.
Yeah, so as Cole was saying, we're getting some incredible feedback. We are getting to round two of interviews so far. So, again, all the people that have registered, we're coming for you, right? Just gonna give us a minute because it was, what was it, 1,600 applicants, something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
A lot of people. So you guys are, it's exciting to get that kind of like feedback. And now we want to just, as Cole posted a little while ago, we want to make sure it's like the right fit. It's like we're not just looking for someone who could do the technical part, someone who's like part of the team, someone who's like really interested in kind of like what we're doing. So please, if possible, let that enthusiasm show through, because that's like really important to where we're at right now. We don't just need someone who's like amazing on the technical side. So that would be kind of like one of the things I would say for sure. Make sure that you guys, are enthusiastic, about the company, and you have some input for us because that's what we're looking for. So yeah.
No, absolutely. I never realized the power of LinkedIn until I put up a job post. Frank and I were kind of just chatting. And he's like, yeah, man, just throw up a job post, see, who's interested in things like that. And we ended up getting, yeah, like you said, probably 1,500 applications on the first one. This recent one got, 1,800 applications. There's so many people. So, we're really taking our time. Super important that we find the right person. I was talking to Frank about this yesterday. Um, you know, there's a lot of boxes that really need to be checked because bringing someone on this early in the business, it's like it's someone who's going to join the core team, and something that's like really important to me, because I'm somewhat technical, but by no means as technical as Jaden, our lead developer, and Frank here. But one thing that's really important to me is finding someone who really fits the culture and that's going to mesh well, especially with Jaden, and that it just has to be the case because obviously, you have the technical requirements, but the type of person that we're really looking for is someone who is really bought in and really enjoys their work, and you can tell that they have just a lot of passion. Because if you don't have that, in my opinion, you're not going to survive in a startup environment because the amount of you know the amount of work this specific type of I think I might have lost it. Oh, there we go. Is it always going to be like this? Maybe not, but I think in these early stages, right, there's a ton of demand across the entire team to really over deliver, and the type of person we really need now is someone who really wants to join that type of environment. And the hard part is that there's so many people that are so talented, incredibly talented. So yeah, Frank, maybe you could chat a little bit about just a little more about your background, and then maybe we can kind of dive into, um, a little bit deeper into some of the things that you've noticed across the board, because like you've said, you've done thousands of interviews. Kind of what you specifically look for, on the technical side. I know it ranges, but like, what are some things that stand out for you? But starting out, I mean, maybe give anyone who's new, give them a little update on kind of who you are, your background.
Yeah, so like my background is, I was just literally one of the first people involved with mobile when mobile first came out. There was no such thing as an app that was made outside of Apple. So I was like one of the first wave of people that created apps that were for the Apple App Store, and it was a brand new experience. It was nobody knew how to do anything. I had to like fly up to Cupertino to actually meet with developers of Macintosh apps that we're the only people who knew how to do the programming for this. So they were like the early ones that, wanted to stay on desktop. Meanwhile, mobile was happening, and they were kind of just teaching us, right? It's like nobody knew anything. There was no books. Apple didn't release anything beforehand. It was all just like all of a sudden, and it really took off. And over the years, I've been part of like extremely early kind of like video specific apps, and massive streaming apps. I mean, out of all the people listening, there's almost like a 99% chance you've used one of the apps that I've built. So, everything on video streaming, super early for movie studios, for brand new movies coming out, to buy tickets and that sort of thing. Also did a lot of apps for like entertainment, concerts and that sort of thing. So like it's been kind of like an amazing adventure. So now as I matured as a developer, I wanted to get kind of more into the product side because I saw that there was like a massive demand for a product person that knew the technical part of it. Like there aren't that many people that even can do that, right? It's like even at big companies, there's very few people who are technical. And so I didn't want to sit into I don't want to sit in the product manager, like, 5 steps removed from the developers. I wanted to be in there and kind of like work with developers to really make good products, and that has worked out very well. I've been part of like some incredible teams, led some teams, built some apps, and like as I was saying, also is like a very very unique company, and they're a very incredible. They're at an inflection point, and we won't get too much into it, but it pretty much means that like this what it looks like now is not what it's going to turn into. And
Yeah.
we have really really big plans. And
Yeah.
like I said, we want to work with people who are technical, but again, like me, you try to be as broad as possible, while still, just be someone that people want to like talk to and have a conversation with, right? It's like being friendly and kind of open to kind of like new ideas is like super important. At least for us right now on the team, and we take this stuff very seriously when we're talking about culture. um, every single person that interviews with us will have a good experience. At least I hope, because we treat everyone equally. We treat everyone with respect, right? We know that interviewing is tough. Not everyone is super outgoing and that sort of thing, and that's fine.
Mhm.
We respect everybody, and that's the kind of culture we want to bring into the actual hiring process and throughout the company. Everybody is talented. Everyone has skills, but we definitely have to work as a team because it's moving very quickly. So we
Yeah.
have to we have to make sure that we're respectful of each other, and have a really good cohesive team environment. We're never going to be those kind of people that says we're family, because we're coworkers, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, keep it friendly, but like we understand that we don't want to be your family. We want to be, your coworkers, right? And so we understand there's a separation. We respect that like massively, right? And that's just part of the culture that we're building. And again, a lot of people have signed up, but understand that like it's a lot of people to go through, and
Yeah.
because we're very methodical, we really want to find the correct person. And if it's not the right time now, that's okay, right? Maybe in the future. So keep an eye on the postings, because there might be something that might be a little bit more kind of towards what you're looking for. So
Yeah. No, really good stuff. And for anyone who's in here, I'm just kind of curious because I see we have, some viewers. I don't know if they're all showing up on our end, but I was looking over in LinkedIn. I would love to kind of know how you guys got here. If it was through, my post, if it was through OSSA, if it was through, the job post, anything like that. I would love to check out because I can see the comments right here. I'm just curious. So feel free to kind of let me know where you guys are kind of all tuning in from, how you ended up on this live. Because we're going to be doing these, weekly, and we have been. Um, Yeah, one thing you touched on, Frank, that I think is super interesting that you kind of helped us realize is that we definitely are at that inflection point. And I think, I kind of had this feeling early on when we first started OSSA. whereas like this idea is it's so cool that it's almost like you don't even want to talk about it because you're it's like it's that cool. And that's kind of where we're at again is the approach that we're taking yet again is an approach that I don't see any other company taking at in multiple levels, right? Because we have two pretty big things we're working on that they're going to come, not right after each other, but they're going to come, near to each other. And that's kind of just how we're approaching things. Is I think, if I was sitting here looking at how all these other companies have had their success, then we probably wouldn't be here today. And if the whole team did that as well. But I think there's just a massive market that's totally being missed in this entire AI video generation, industry. And what's really cool is that the team's kind of all on board with that. And it's definitely more risky, right? Because you're the one who's making the bet against the market, really. But we're starting to see that people are really starting to resonate with our mission and what the product serves. And I think that's a testament to the team, and it's a testament to us, sticking to what we believed was going to be best for our users early on. I mean, one thing I want to do is I want to have some of the beta testers on because I was chatting with them yesterday, and if we have them on, it's going to be crazy because I don't know if a lot of people are probably kind of newer, but we actually ran a let's see, like a 3 or 4 month beta, which is a pretty long beta, but we're a team of three. So like we were kind of spread thin. So we needed to kind of test a lot. And some of these individuals, and I'll have to share this video on LinkedIn with you guys, but some of these individuals, one of them was like 30 something years old. We had a 20-year-old, we had 18-year-old, all age ranges. And basically word for word what they said is it's really cool. They were like, this is the future of social media. Like anyone can do this. Like and one of them says word for word, his name's Jeremy. He's like, I'm 30 years old and I was able to do this. Like, and I'm not a content creator. And I think that was like a little hint of what we started to see. And I think one thing that I was thinking about this yesterday, I was working out. One thing that was really cool is that the base of the company was started off of people and focusing on the actual creator, and that's actually how the product was really got off the ground. Is we had 20 30 beta testers just pulled randomly from a Discord, and we said we didn't cherry pick anyone. It was like, hey, you're a person that wants to use it, like come on in. And then I worked one-on-one with all those people, and so did Brennan, like every single day, meetings, calls, like, hey, what can we do better? Hey, like, how do you like the product? And that's where we started. And I think if we didn't do that, then we would end up in a position where the product's not where it is today. So I was just thinking about that, and I want to share that because, yeah, I definitely need to have some of those beta testers on so they can kind of tell the story of how they've seen the product develop and kind of, what was their relationship with the team. Because that's really what we're focused on is the actual the users, because it's creativity and content creation tied so deeply together. If all we do is focus on the product, then we're not going to really understand how it's serving the users completely. So that was something I thought about yesterday. That was kind of cool. And I'll definitely have to have them on. But kind of pivoting here, Frank. I guess the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is briefly is kind of what's next up and where do you see OSSA kind of headed without talking about features. But you've been here many times, you've seen these things happen, and I was talking about this earlier or maybe the day before, like we're up like 45% growth on the month, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of attention kind of coming around. But where do you kind of see OSSA now, and what, when you say like inflection point, what does that really mean for anyone who's kind of listening in?
Yeah, so I think it's I know it sounds like really cheesy, but like every single type of company has gone through like specific steps. And one of the things that people are doing nowadays, like really well, like we've built up like a community of people, right? So I know people just say that as a kind of throwaway kind of thing, but it's the community of people that is giving us feedback, and we're serving them, right? We're not serving us. We're not high up in the ivory tower somewhere pontificating about what's good and what's not. We have a certain set of ideas, and we're testing it out with people, like actual people, and they're giving us feedback. If it's not good, they tell us. If it's good, they tell us, right? So
Mm,
it's like that rapid iteration doesn't happen. Like companies can't grow nowadays unless they have that feedback loop and a good standing in a community they built, right? Not somewhere else, but like literally a community of people that we have constantly giving us feedback. And at some point, you know, most of the company is going to be driven by community, right? So we're going to put up a couple of features that we have some ideas on, and people will be able to vote for them, right? It's like give us feedback. Maybe they might think of something that we don't even think about, right? So
mm,
it's like before more recently, most companies just like made something and that's it. You have to use it and that's it. Whereas now, like the iteration and kind of the focus goes into the community of people using the thing, right? Like giving us ideas. Like
mm,
some of the ideas that we had, we never would have had without the community. Kind of like, hey, what about this or what about that, right? So you know, again, more of that community kind of thing is going to become more and more important for the future features. And you know, we have a secret project coming up, right? And we're teasing it, but it'll be game changing. And I think it's again, it's not going to be game changing because we're so awesome. Is because our community of people is going to really enjoy it, right? It's
mm,
going to serve them really well. And so that's kind of how we see the progress of this. The actual products themselves are to serve the community, and I think that's like there's no other way to build companies nowadays. If you're not doing this, you're kind of like an isolated thing, spending all your money on advertising. We don't spend money on advertising. We spend it on community and putting posts up and
mm.
working with people directly and spending our time on things, right? So that's like the future of growing. Like I mean, this is bootstrapped. This company is literally bootstrapped. Like there was no outside funding yet, like at all. And so people kind of are shocked by that. But when you do things correctly and you serve your community, that's what you can do. Like that's the new wave. It's like to grow as much as humanly possible, you know, before needing any kind of outside investment.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can kinda dive into that, and before we do, I just wanna say shout out to Russell. I just realized you can actually I don't know if you can see this on your end, Frank, but you can pull up,
Yeah, yeah.
comments as we're talking about this. This is cool.
That's
Yeah, so he
that's
found
cool.
yeah, he found the live through one of the posts, excited to learn about position insights, applications, interviews, overall navigating the challenging job market and making my best impression to prospective jobs. Well, that's actually
Mm.
I can speak on that real quick, and I'm sure Frank could maybe tap a little bit more into that, and then I wanna kind of transfer into the VC stuff. And then obviously, if you guys have questions, comments, drop them in, and I'll pull them up kind of as we go. I would say for me, Russell, I kind of made a post about this. I made a post about this on LinkedIn, and I think it resonated with a lot of people. And one of the terms I kind of used was as one of the leaders in the company, because we have many leaders, right? It's super important that I protect not only the company's culture, but also the candidates, right? And what I mean by that is navigating in a way and trying to understand, you as a potential candidate, right? And understanding, what are kind of your needs and what's kind of your situation and what type of person are you, right? And it's like it's a mutual respect for each other's time, for the team's time and your time, right? Because that's how I look at it. And the reason I bring that up is because I think it's super hard because I get it, interviews can be a little scary, but I think the more that someone can really just be themselves within an interview, and if you can kind of, I'm not saying you specifically, Russell, but kind of get out of the shell and just be yourself. At least from my point of view, it helps me really understand like who is this person, what are they kind of like, because when people are a little bit more, locked up, which granted it happens, right? Because it can be a little overwhelming. It's a little harder to kind of know what type of person is this, and that that kind of opens up down the line, obviously, because we have multiple rounds. But I think the earlier that you can, and when I say you, I'm kind of chatting with everyone from my point of view. The earlier you can kind of just show who you are and be yourself, it helps someone like me, whose kind of responsibility is kind of understanding the culture and protecting that. It helps me find out quicker, and then it becomes more of like, is this person technically sound, right? But if we get super deep, this is my perspective, but if we get super deep into the interview process and you're really technically sound, but I still don't really know, I can't really gauge, is this person, what type of person is this? That's when, we have a conversation with the team and things like that. So I would say the biggest thing from my point of view is just, trying to just kind of be yourself. So we can kind of understand a little more about, who you are. Yeah. but I'm sure Frank has more of the
Yeah, and
technical.
yeah, and I think again, one of the most important things on the technical side is it's very difficult to just look at a resume and kind of get an idea of what your skills are, or kind of like what kind of things you've actually worked on. That's why it's like super important to have either like some kind of a website or some kind of deployment to Vercel or any one of these like free deployment things with some of like the fun stuff that you've worked on. That way, it's like we can have a conversation of something that you've built. That's always a much better kind of interview than just like a very dry kind of like, what did you do at this other place? And right, it's like that can be very monotonous for both people. Whereas if you have like a really passionate, like we actually had somebody that was really passionate about like something very specific, but they couldn't show it to us. But you know, it's like it would have been so much better if like, hey, I'm like super into this like specific thing. I won't get into it because you know I don't want to like out anyone, but they were they were specifically interested in 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 something that if they would have had a demo on and we could have gone over that demo, that candidate would have, you know, at least in my eyes, like been kind of like higher up on the ranking because always want to be able to show the stuff that you have, even if it's like a video or something that we can click on to take a look at. Because you know, again, like just looking at just pure requirements that only tells like not even one third of the story, right? It's like it's the person and it's like the projects that you're interested in, and if you have something to show us, that's always good. And so I would encourage everyone to, as much as possible, make clickable links that get deployed to one of these free hosting places like Vercel or something like that, and be ready to chat about it because that's you know it's your work and it's something that you've worked on that's you know outside of possibly a big company or something that you can't show, right? That's the best way that I would say someone who's like a recruiter can like look at something and it's more exciting than just,
Yeah.
oh, and also don't just guide me towards your GitHub link, right? It's like that's cool. Like I see the code, but like if you can deploy something, it also helps me understand that like, wow, that person has enough skill to deploy something,
Mm.
right? So if you have something on like a little, you know, like interactive resume or something like that that we can click on like things that you've built, that's always really good. And in fact, I think I might just like drop that as like one of the things that we put on OSA. Like I'll give you guys some like an actual interactive like you know, resume that you guys can just use it in all your stuff because that way it's going to help you out quite a bit. People will click on it and take a look at it, and it's more impressive than just having a bunch of stuff that's on your resume.
Yeah, I actually what's really interesting is that's to me that's not even just unique to like engineers, you know, because I'm looking for a social media manager and a video editor, and you'd be surprised how many video editors. I would say at least 75% of them don't have a portfolio in their resume, and it's like how am I supposed to gauge like your stuff? You know, like I have no way to look. It's like, yeah, you know, I can see your experience and that might precede itself. But at the end of the day, it's like I need something to kind of look at. You know, being someone who's been in social media, like my head immediately goes to let me just look at the stuff you edit, and then I can look at the resume after because the videos tell the story. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that kind of resonates with to some degree with the engineer stuff, which is like, you know, um if you can kind of see it, it's gonna tell a lot of the story. And then to me, it's like for the video editor and for the social media manager, having something to look at, like the resume kind of connects the dots of like, oh, that's why they're so good at editing, or like, oh, these campaigns that they have in metrics, right? And these examples of what they've done, oh, that makes sense. That's where they've kind of done. So that's how I kind of look at stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing, right? It's like the reason why is that we understand that like most companies have NDAs and that sort of thing. So imagine you're just talking about it, but we can't see anything. It's like, okay, it sounds great, but show us something that, if possible, that you've done in your own free time, right? If you can show us something there, it's like it's exciting, right? We can see it. We know that it's not NDA, and you can chat about it because that's something that you built, right? So make it as like as interesting as possible for someone. Like imagine we have to go over like 1,600 resumes. Let's make yours stand out, and that's a really good way to make it stand out. And that's just not just for us. It's just across everybody. All people that are interviewing candidates. will look at that for sure. Even though you might not think so, it's like people do look at those things.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And then I'm gonna pull this comment down, and then if anyone else wants to drop some questions, comments, anything like that, I'll bring them up. I kind of wanted to, because we haven't really chatted about this, and I would love to kind of hear your perspective. You brought up kind of the VC stuff. I think it's like super interesting, and it's kind of like a voodoo topic that no one really chats about. It's kind of just like, wow, that
Uh,
Hey Jen just
we
raised
got some
60.
hot takes.
Yeah, Hey Jen
Hot
just raised
takes.
$60 million. Like what? And it's like, how did that even happen? Right. So how do these things happen? How have you seen them happen? In early stage startups like OSSA, right? There's a lot of early stage startups, especially in the AI space. We've chatted a little bit about it, but I'd love to kind of hear, kind of what you've seen happen with companies like OSSA, and kind of when, I know it's kind of unique because we're bootstrapped, but yeah, tell me kind of about your experience seeing some of these, how VC can kind of affect companies positively or negatively. Just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always, there's a lot of mythology behind, what VCs do. Um, if you understand what a VC actually is, it actually really helps you quite a bit. So, a venture capital it's a company that's set up specifically with limited partners and general partners. And these limited partners are usually like pension funds or people that have like large amounts of money that they want to deploy for for people to earn a return for retirement. That's 95% of like the money that goes into VCs. So if you understand that all they're looking for is for a return, most actual VCs and all that sort of thing, they're not even experts in their field. That's like a little deep dark secret. 95% of the time, it's like some MBA person that came out of some school that's telling you like, oh, I don't think your startup is good or not. It's like they've never run anything in their life, right? So it's like it's a weird little dark secret that no one tells you, but in reality, that's what it is, right? They're making educated guesses, educated bets, where they know that one out of every 100 companies that they fund goes on to be like a massive company, like the Airbnbs, like the Dropboxes, right? And that makes up for the rest of the losses that they have in the rest of the companies. So you can't think about like raising money from a VC as if like it's hurting them or anything. It's not even their money, right? They're not taking a loss on it, right? They know that it's an educated guess and that they want you to grow as big as possible. However, that's where the other part of the VC game comes in. So if you do like something like HeyGen and you raise $60 million, for this to be considered a successful exit for all those VCs that went in, you have to generate 300 million in revenue to make that bet actually be one of the winners. So imagine how much that is, right? So every time you raise, it's like the valuation goes up, but then the expectation goes up as well, right? They're betting on that there's $300 million worth of people that want to generate, and create and use their services in that manner. So these are big risky bets, right? And so the problem sometimes that happens is that when VCs put money in, they start really telling you to like focus only on revenue, right? They tell you to focus less on community and all these other things sometimes, right? And so that can kind of create kind of like, like a friction with users, right? We've all seen it. It's like the moment somebody raises the VC money, it's like all of a sudden everything, the pricing goes up, or right, or all these kind of things happen because the VCs are kind of requiring them to. And so you have to, the reason why bootstrapping is good is because you get to figure out a lot of that stuff beforehand, so that once you actually do approach a VC or raise money professionally, you have a much better idea. You have more leverage. Like with OSA specifically, it's like we're getting pretty close to like what users actually want, right? So because it's been proven, the growth is showing it. There's a lot of people that are really happy with the service. We have a lot of influencers. Like, there's a lot of people that are interested in what we're doing. So it's like proving that before you take VC is actually super important. A lot of times somebody might have an idea and then they end up pivoting like five different times. And so it's like, okay, great. Like not everybody has that kind of like luxury to do that kind of thing. Um, we've stayed focused specifically on, you know, making it so that people can tell their stories via video. We've always said that since the beginning. So everything that we're gonna create will serve that purpose. And so having that clarity is super important, and not like not changing every time something doesn't go right. you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think, my approach has always been, because I've actually been asked a few times about VC, and my approach has always been, I think we would want to, we want to be at a point where it just makes sense at the end of the day for both parties, right? Because if you can have like, if we just kind of reverse engineer what a VC wants, they want a guaranteed win, right? Which nothing's guaranteed. But the longer that we kind of delay any type of ask that we make from an outside investment, the longer the product can mature, and also the more data we can collect, so that when we have that conversation, it's less risky for them. And it's a win-win, right? Because it's like, there's also a lot of pressure with taking on that amount of money, right? And we also want to actually need it. At this point, I'm sure we could, take on VC today if we wanted, but it's like we're growing fast enough where I think it would only just bring on more unneeded stress at this specific moment. That could change in a week, that could change in a month. But it's like right now, if we're up 45% on the month organically with zero paid ads, like none. And I actually, over the past month, believe it or not, I've been focusing more on operations and some product stuff, and hiring. So I've actually spent less time on marketing than I did in the first month, and we're up 45% the first 3 months. Like, we're not even pushing marketing very hard. Like, my background's in content creation, and I haven't really gotten the chance to really dig my feet into content. And that's why we're getting a video editor, social media manager. So it's like, right now our focus is how do we continue to build products and iterate on features that are serving the user really well, right? Because that's what all comes down to. Everything we do is centered towards the user, especially in engineering. um, so it's like, for us, the longer we wait, the more discipline we get with data, right? The stronger we get, really just with data. That's what it comes down to, is how do we know where people are coming from, right? Like, what's causing people to not like the product? How do we solve that? Like, these are all things that are kind of just ongoing, because we're only 4 months old. I think at that point, once we kind of mature, in some of those aspects, I think that conversation becomes a little more relevant, because we can also justify what we actually need, and what we're asking for, right? Because otherwise it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is kind of what we want. And then the conversation becomes, okay, but like, why? So it's like, we want to have the answer to that why, undoubtedly, so that one, like, that conversation doesn't drag out for multiple months. Because any types of investment, the less structured you are, from what I've seen, the longer that conversation is going to take, right? Because if you can tee up exactly what they need, it makes their process easier too. So it's like, that's kind of where I'm at. Is I think it'll probably come at a time when, as the product matures a little bit more and we have some of these things push out, and the reasoning for that would most likely be just to, bring on more talent, maybe get the team paid, kind of taken care of, because half the team's not even taking a salary, and that's okay. We're not really in a rush. So yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just not in a rush. We don't need a ton of money to try and blow this thing up overnight. I think we've gotten here because we've been sprinting a marathon. So
And that's another like deep dark thing that nobody knows about. Most of the time that people raise VC funds, a huge portion of that, I'm saying like 70 to 80% of that doesn't even go to talent. It all goes to advertising. Right? Like, haven't you ever noticed that somebody does a fundraise and all of a sudden they have like these goofy ads everywhere? It's because they're spending a lot on advertising. So the weird thing is that you advertising only gets you so far if you don't have like a really good product that people want. So
yeah.
imagine if you can grow something organically to like, let's call it like like half a million users or even 100,000 users, like that shows you that that can carry itself, that has its own power. It doesn't necessarily need marketing.
Mm,
Sorry, it doesn't need paid advertising, right? It's like we'd rather do things like, like sponsor something like in the community, right? Like some kind of thematic thing that's like, hey, make the coolest video for, like some kind of subject like anime or whatever kind of we can come up with, we'd rather do that and grow the community that way, right? It's like we'd
Yep.
rather, you know, reward the people that are helping us since day one, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we're focusing on for sure.
Yeah. And I think, like candidly, one thing I kind of realized, and I talked to Brendan about this a couple days ago, is there's a lot of room for improvement for us on kind of how we're bringing everyone together, and it's something we're really going to be working on because we have a really strong community. But I built my following of 7 million followers, um, candidly, by responding to every single comment for a year straight. Posting 6 times a day, reaching back out to people, going live, right? Like we're doing now, chatting with people. And I think that all comes back to community, right? And as I've kind of started OSSA, it's, you just have more responsibility. So it's a little bit more difficult. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on over the next, I think, couple quarters, is really focusing on community, building things, to connect people and finding ways to help people kind of learn from each other too. Cause I think that's what we all want at the end of the day. It's like we're humans and we want to be part of communities and we want to be involved in stuff. I think that's super important, especially in this, as we kind of become more technologically advanced. I think that the want for just connection and that community aspect is going to become stronger and stronger as we kind of progress towards a more technological society, which sounds like super complicated, but it's just like, it's only reasonable to think that as people become kind of, unfortunately, a little bit more isolated and kind of more technology on their phones, playing video games, it's like people want to connect at the end of the day. I want to connect with people. So, halfway, this is kind of like a small side story because I know we're kind of wrapping up here. I was 2 months ago, and this has happened a couple times for me. Like, sometimes I get, a little bit impatient, and Brennan could tell you too. We've been working on this since 2022. And I kind of got to this point where, I thought I was going to start like a community, a thing like that for my personal account. And Frank and I chatted about this, and I was like, yeah, it might be a good way to, provide some value to people, because it's like when you work on something for so long, you don't get paid. It's like, at what point, it's like everyone gets a little impatient. I'm just human. But, through that process, I talked to one of my buddies. He's a really massive influencer, one of the biggest ones on TikTok. And he was kind of telling me, he's like, but what do you like really want? Because he was trying to kind of understand why I was like kind of doing that. Cause I've been like 1,000% in on OSSA. And he ended up kind of finding out that really what I was looking for was a community. And that was like super cool for me because here I was thinking that I wanted to build this community to like, support myself and, because I've been going unpaid for so long, which is totally fine, like I said, but it really just came back to community. And I think Brennan shares that same sentiment. This company was first built, believe it or not, if you don't know this story, off of a Discord community that we built where I was going to give out tons of information to aspiring creators. We grew it to 30,000 people in a couple months from my personal profile, right? So it's always been community. And I think the reason I tell this story is because Frank's not sharing too much and I'm not going to share too much either, but a lot of what we're building is really focused around people and community, because we think that's super important. So I think it's kind of funny because this whole like the whole company from inception to now is coming kind of full circle. I think it's just super cool. And the reason I share that story is because that's like super ingrained in me is community and just helping people. And that's why the product's where it is today. Because if the product was not actually helping people, we wouldn't be as big as we are bootstrapped 4 months in, and doing what we're doing. And I think that's, a testament to the team. And it's kind of a testament to how we're approaching things. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear that like community is not like some woo-woo kind of thing that people wave around. It's community combined with like a good product, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
videos
yeah.
actually are really good, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like that's where it actually becomes like really powerful. It's like it's not just like, hey, community. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's community with a purpose. Like people want to know how to make short form videos like really really good, and it's like, man, I don't care what anyone says. Like ours beats everyone else's stuff. In fact, like that is one story, right? I use a competitor on my TikTok page, crickets. I actually had uh, TikTok say that they didn't they banned one of my videos because they were saying that it was uh, unoriginal content or something crazy. And I was like really bummed out. And I, then that's in the early stages of like of trying out OSA, and I put up the first OSA video. It got like 24,000 views, like in 2 days, and it's like I've never had anything pop off like that before. Like, so it's like I'm not. I use social media, but it's like I'm not like a content creator that's gonna crush it like that all the time. But now I know. I was like, that's all the proof I need. I was like, hey Cole, uh, can I sweep the floors or something? Like I'll do like anything to be part of this rocket ship because like it's like the end product is so good. Like
Yeah,
it's not just us like talking about community all the time. It really is a good product that
yeah.
people are finding, and once people find it they tell their friends. I'm not sure exactly how people are sharing it, but it's coming out as like, hey, this is a really good product.
Yeah.
And I think it even has some competitors kind of scared. We won't go too much into it, but
Actually,
we
I
got
wanna tell
ops. We got ops out there.
we do. And I've kind of told this, and I want to tell kind of one last story to kind of wrap this up because I think you hit on like a good point. Maybe we can kind of close it out here as we kind of move forward. Um, you know, when we first launched OSSA back in February, this was our marketing strategy was pretty much this. I am not an AI creator. For anyone who doesn't know, my background's in fitness stuff, and then I did some comedy stuff, then I did some relationship stuff, right? And I became the relationship guy, and I somehow built this tech startup. That's a whole nother story. But what's really interesting is, like I said, I've always been, not to make it all like woo woo, but I've always been a big community guy. And I ended up reaching out to all these AI influencers and be like, hey, I'm working on this thing. This was like probably a couple weeks into the launch back in February. I reached out to all these massive creators in the AI space. Right. And I obviously kind of got my foot in the door because I have a big following. So they're probably like, who is this guy? And ended up creating this group of like 60 AI creators, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and brought them all into a group. Now, during that time, we built out our CRM and we started, reaching out to these influencers through like an affiliate program, right? And this is what's the really interesting part of the story. So as I start sending out these emails to these really big influencers in the AI space, and I hop on and I'm talking like 30, 40 meetings a week, just trying to understand, what are they up to? Do you want to kind of check out what we're doing? Kind of giving the opportunity to kind of hop on board because I really believe in the product. And I think they really saw that as I hopped on with them. And, through these conversations, what I found out is that, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to give airtime, but essentially kind of tying into what Frank was talking about, a lot of these creators have worked with some of the largest AI video generation companies in the world. And what I came to found out, and I kid you not, everyone except maybe like one of the creators, everyone except one of the creators actually had the opportunity to use the product, worked with this company, but they all said in some different capacity, I would never post that content to my own profile. And to me, what that tells me is that if all of the creators that are working with your AI video generation app or company that's meant for social media, but all of them share the same sentiment that they would never post it to their profile, what type of story does that say about the product? Now, the reason I share that is because we have large creators, hundreds of thousands of followers, some of them multiple hundreds of thousands, that are using our platform not to fully replace their content, but to supplement their content and to create content in between their personal brand content, right? And finding creative ways to use it. And that was a really big light switch for me of really realizing like, whoa, this is a $300 million company, and these creators are basically saying they would never post the content. And then, turn around and look at some of the creators that are using our product. And you can see on the website, one of them, her name's Lisa. She has over 100K on Instagram. She had a video do over 300K, her first video, and it was driving sales to her business, right? And I had her on in a past live stream. And the reason I share this is because it's really easy to stay motivated when you know that the product just works. when it just works. It doesn't work for everyone, right? But that's okay because it's not meant to, because it's in the user's hands to learn what's a good script and what's kind of working for me and how do I, select the right parameters and is it brandable to my page, right? But that learning gap is really important because some people might use it and you might get no views and you might unsubscribe or leave, and that's okay because it's not meant to be like a total let's automate the whole thing, click one button. There has to be some creativity there. And every creator, when I explained the product to them, it clicked like that. They're like, whoa, I get it. This makes sense. I know why you're not doing this, this, and this. And it's like, to me, that was a really big unlock. And yeah, I'm just super happy that I ended up getting on all those calls with those creators. I hopped on with like over 100 creators, and it's really interesting. And yeah, I definitely have some stories about that. And Frank's right. We have some ops for sure. Some people that, yeah, definitely aren't really liking some of the stuff we're doing, but that's okay because we're just gonna keep doing our thing.
Yeah, if you don't, if you, don't- yeah, I think if you don't have any haters, especially in the tech space, you're not doing something right. You're doing something that's like so mid that no one cares about, right? So it has to be like, it has to irritate people just enough to have ops out there and haters. But we see it in stride. It's like, you know, they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing, and I think our thing is it scales in the long term way better. Um, and we have some really big plans, and obviously, as that comes closer, we'll do more announcements. But yeah, and
Yep.
it's exciting.
Yeah, super exciting, but I'm sure we'll have some really exciting ones kind of moving forward. Um, yeah, thank you so much for everyone coming out. Really appreciate you guys all tuning in, or if you're listening to this recording, thanks for taking the time to check it out. Obviously, you can find us on LinkedIn, it's just OSSA.AI, or on X, on Facebook as well. And you guys, as you know, you can just head over to the website OSSA.AI. You can type it in, super simple, it's 6 characters. But yeah, no, Frank, thank you for joining me. And thanks for letting me tell a couple stories to kind of set the frame on kind of where we're at. And yeah, thanks for sharing all your knowledge. I'm sure there's engineers in here that are going to hear this and also listen back to it and hopefully take some actions based off some of the stuff you gave. So that's super exciting. And yeah, looking forward to continuing holding these and hopping on one and maybe like 3-6 months and kind of looking back and kind of seeing the progress we've made. But yeah, guys, Frank's been awesome. If you don't know Frank, go check out his stuff. He's gonna be around for a good while. So get used to Frank. And yeah, this guy's had a massive impact on the business and on the team. And every single day, he's just proven to us that we're super lucky to have him around. So it's going to be a super exciting next couple months. Frank's gonna actually be working on some secret sauce over here, so super excited to see some of the stuff he kind of cranks out. And regarding the last thing regarding the engineer role, we actually just opened up that new application. I'm sure some of you guys in here or maybe listening to this recording might have applied. And right now we're kind of still looking through those applications. We have obviously a lot of people that are already held interviews, and we're going to be taking a pass through that over the next week or two. There's just a lot of people, and we're really taking our time because we kind of have to, just due to the volume of people. So just be patient with us if you're kind of waiting for a response. We promise we will get back to everyone, especially if you've already had that first interview and you're kind of waiting on next word. We are kind of moving along.
Yeah, and one last thing from Russell. You want to put it up?
Yep.
Yeah, no, you guys are the reason why we do this. We want to reach out to the community. Again, on the technical side, it'll be myself and Jaden working on that side kind of thing. Happy to meet with all the people that we can. Again, we're going through a lot of these things, so please be patient. We're getting a lot of emails from people. Sometimes it's like we're going as fast as we can. Because again, we want to find the right fit. But yeah, we're happy to host these things. We want to have a community of not just content creators, but also like we want to be like tech leaders. So we want to have a technology community as well of people that will start seeing our stuff and get involved on the technical side. So yeah, future events, maybe something. One of the times we'll have Jaden on here, we'll talk about technical stuff. So the idea is we're going to keep producing this kind of content, reaching out to all the community, including people that are specifically looking for job roles. And yeah, we'll keep this going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I'm just really excited about is, like I said, we're wearing a lot of hats right now, but as we bring in like a video editor and a social media manager, my passion is creating content. So I love talking about kind of what we're doing in the team and things like that. So I'm sure you guys will be able to kind of tune in. You know, who knows? Maybe Frank's going to be dropping. All of a sudden, you're going to see Frank sitting in a gaming chair dropping a 10-minute Mr. Beast video. You know, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, man.
Oh my god,
All
that'll
right.
be the days. Like,
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out or listening to the recording, and hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your Friday, wonderful rest of your weekend. You know, we're hosting these weekly, typically on Thursdays. I believe next weekend, side note, I'm going to be meeting up with a really good friend of mine. He's known as the SaaS CFO, Ben Murray. He's a really big dog in the SaaS finance space. So we're going to be pretty grateful to be joined by him. So make sure you guys be on the lookout for that. But yeah, Frank, thanks so much for coming on.
great, thanks everyone.